time, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I have to wait for some people to come in, but today I'm going to do some baking. So nobody's here right now. Let's see if we get somebody in here, and we'll see. So let's check out the other look and see how that is. Ah, yes, okay. That's set up pretty good. And we're good over here. So that will work. And back to me. You can see I shaved the sheep, so I'm in my summer mode now. And I don't need a hat. See, well, we have one bold visitor. Thank you for coming. If you're new to me, you might like to subscribe and maybe hit the like button. We're going to be doing some baking today, which I do cooking videos, but I don't generally do any baking. Not that I haven't messed around. Steve, hey, how you doing? Well, what I am making today is I am making my cheddar jalapeno cornbread, which is a recipe I got from the Food Channel, and I made it a few times many years ago. And of course, like most cooks, I messed around and modified it to my own. So I've got everything prepped. We're going to put this thing together, and I'm going to stay live for a while and maybe have a beverage or so. So let's have a look how this is going to come together. So let's switch the screen to my little gizmo here. There we go. Okay, now in the mixing, we have, remember the number 2, because that's going to be really important in this recipe. I've got in here 2 cups of cornmeal, 2 cups of regular flour. That's going to make the bulk of the dry ingredients. Now, I've got in here some other dry stuff I'm going to put in, and that's 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 1 tablespoon of salt, some pepper, and about half a teaspoon, maybe 3/4 of a teaspoon of paprika. Just regular paprika, not the smoked stuff. So in that goes. Let's mix it up, and then we'll start adding the wet ingredients. Okay, so let's go out here, get my serious mixing spoon. Okay, yes, the serious mixing spoon. So we've got that going in there. Hey, Tony, we're making jalapeno cheddar cornbread. Now, this is a very savory dish. It's not like traditional sweet cornbread, which I love, by the way. Very savory, and the way I've made it, it's extra decadent and almost like a cake in the texture. So you can definitely eat it with a fork. And there's method to my madness, because I'm going to take a good chunk of this, freeze it, and take it down with me next week when I go to house sit for my son. Now, let's add the wet ingredients. We'll start this mixing. As I said, the number 2 is important. We had 2 cups. 2 cups of cornmeal, and I use a coarse cornmeal, the same one that I use when I make Italian polenta. So 2 cups of cornmeal, 2 cups of regular flour. In goes 2 cups of buttermilk. And to that, we're going to also add 2 eggs, beaten eggs, and about, call it 2 teaspoons of extra virgin olive oil. Now, that's your wet ingredients. We're going to start incorporating that all together and start the making of the batter. And that, of course, starts coming together rather nicely. Rest of that, the buttermilk. And then again, I know that with baking, it's very much a science. You should stick to the recipe or whatever. But, you know, I do play around sometimes with eye and see what turns out here. Like this seems just a tad dry. So I'm going to add a little splash more of buttermilk. Okay. That's good. We'll incorporate those goodies in here. Now, let's start adding in all the good stuff. Cheddar cheese. I use sharp old cheddar, about 300 grams worth. Because yes, this does end up very cheesy, very rich. It's the way I like it. So let's get that all mixed in there. Aha. Okay, that's starting to come together nicely. Forming the batter. Okay, now, at this point, I made an addition to the recipe where I chose to go with 500 grams of ricotta cheese. Normal Italian ricotta cheese, which is a very mild cheese. It just gives it that extra creaminess, which I love. And let's all mix that in there. Highly recommend you get a serious wooden mixing spoon. I got my regular smaller ones, but then again, this is the big ass one that's doing. Hello to everybody. I'm sorry I'm not tuning in here to the chat, so I'm gonna have to trust you guys to kind of keep things rolling here. Okay, now let's start adding some of the other ingredients. Here is about a cup of onion, chopped very fine, because I don't pre-cook the onion or the jalapenos, because I want some texture. The cooking process generally does a good job of cooking. Now the jalapenos, I've got here about 2 cups of, again, finely diced jalapenos, but I'm going to do this a bit by eye because I can usually tell as it's mixed through there when it's got the right consistency. You don't want, you want jalapenos all over the place, but obviously, and I like them, so, oh yeah, that's getting there. Now this all goes in a buttered dish. This is one of these, you know, what I think they measure out to 9.5 by 13.5. I don't know where they get those crazy measurements, but it's the bigger baking dish. I had a cleaning spoon here. All right, get the old cleaning spoon. What do you think, guys? Should I put the rest of the jalapenos in there? Let's have a vote. More or not? Lana, what I'm making is I'm making a jalapeno cheddar cornbread. Let's throw them in. What the hell? Let's live dangerously. Again, with these jalapeno pieces, let me just clean up some of this crapola here. So we'll give this thing a good mix. Excellent. Now, this is the dish I'm talking about, and it's of course been buttered all around. Let's add this puppy to there. And I've done this before, it fits. Spread her around. Now this should sit, as any good baker knows, if you make a batter, don't be in an over hurry. This is going to sit for 15-20 minutes, and if that's the point, I'm going to fire up the oven. In fact, we'll do that right now. I set this for 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't ask me what that is in Celsius because I cook old-fashioned. Okay, it'll find its own level, of course. Get those last little bits of batter because it don't do any good sitting out here in the washing pan. There we go. Now we will let that sit, let the oven bake, and one final ingredient here, and that is I have grated some Parmesan cheese, and I sprinkle the Parmesan over the top. Gives it that little extra bit of flavor. So that is now done. We're just going to let the oh, what happened? Some escaped there. Get back in there. We're going to let that sit for, like I said, about 15-20 minutes. I am going to loose this, switch it till you can see me, and let's go chill a bit. So I think I should celebrate with a cocktail. What do you guys think? And now baking time on that runs for about, oh, I know what I want. I know what I want. Got the wrong glass. Do, 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 do. Want to have some port. Porto. Yeah, now like I said, I got this recipe from the Food Channel many years ago. And there we go. I've got a glass of port now. Let me get my other stand so I don't have to hold this, and we shall go into the parlor. Yeah, I know that's a silly old-fashioned sort of a thing. When I hear the stove beep, then I'll put it in about 40-45 minutes. Again, I play it, needs the fishbowl. Oh, Devin, you're such a Devin. Okay, put this in here, stretch out. Yes, and I actually got myself a couple of toys today that I've been playing with one of them. One of them is a really nice sharpening steel because I've been messing around with my knives, and Devin knows this because he does a lot of meat. There's nothing worse than struggling. Thank you, Tony. Salute. There's nothing worse than struggling with a dull knife. Now, I used to have a great sharpening system that, goodness gracious, it's got to be close to 50 years old. And it consisted of a fine and a coarse ceramic pieces that you put in on angle, and then it worked great. I could put a razor's edge on all kinds of knives and fishing fillet knives and all kinds of cool stuff like that. Well, over time, it's worn out, and it just doesn't do the job that it used to do. My guess is Ontario. Great guess. You trying to tell me I have an Ontario accent? Congratulations, killing nothing but time. But you may have cheated and watched one of my other streams because I don't make any bones about where I am. I am in southwestern Ontario, probably just under 2 hours from Windsor and Detroit. So anyway, back to my sharpening thing. And then ever since then, the last 4 or 5 years, it's been a nightmare going from one different thing to another until I saw a YouTube video. So thank you, YouTube. And the person was talking about a sharpening steel. Now, many of you have seen the round steel rods. That is not a sharpening steel. This one is flat. And I bought it from Wuschthof or something like that. It's a German company. I mean, I paid 150 bucks Canadian for the damn thing. And I tried it out this morning and oh man, it's exactly what you want. Those round things, of course, you finish and they just hone your blade. It's the exact same thing as the old style barbers. You used to take the razor and slap it on the leather. Well, that just takes the little burrs and puts that nice little finishing edge, but it's not meant to actually sharpen. So that was the one toy. The other toy I got, which I haven't checked out yet, is my little stand to put on my car. So I can actually stream while I'm driving and do a slow 49 car stream or a Fro 14 card stream. My favorite dish is speckled trout. Oh yeah, speckled trout are great. Let me show you something. Killing but time. I'm going to go over here and let's go click over to the front view. And what you have there is a mount of 2 large speckled trout. Now they were caught in a pond, naturally spring-fed. It was naturally occurring thing. We were on a fishing trip in Quebec, near the Gouin Reservoir in Quebec. And long story short, they offered a side trip where you could go, I forget what they charged for the day, but you went for the day, you went on this lake, and you were allowed to take only one fish out. Now, we weren't interested in eating the fish. We were also used barbless hooks and did not let yourself touch the fish at all because you didn't want to in any way introduce any disease. Well, about 45 minutes before it was time to go, my brother hooked this one here, which is the female, hooked it up and landed it. And about 15 minutes later, I hooked the male. And for that size of a spring-fed lake that you're talking, maybe 100 acres, maybe a little more, these were probably the premier breeding pair in the lake, which of course now I feel totally mortified that we did that, but we decided to go with a full body mount in the case. So they did all that, the female spawning, the male over top. We actually took this down to the Sportsman Show down in Toronto and set it up. We're there in the booth of the people that were showing or that we went to, and we had all kinds of compliments. The guy did a great job. Now, my dear late father dropped a beer or tipped over a beer and it cracked the glass, so I got to get a new glass for that. But yeah, that was for the comment about speckled trout. Hey, Slow, how you doing, man? We're about to put the food in the. We got specials in the Gulf of Mexico. No, really? Are you serious? Are you sure they're not just something else? So we're talking here the brook trout, also known as speckled trout in Canada, which, fun fact, is not a trout, but actual. Mr. Braun, how are you, sir? Thank you so much for stopping in. You missed the mixing part of the jalapeno, saltwater species. Okay, because the speckled trout up here is actually a char. So it's related to the Arctic char. Now, they are super tasty. Thanks for dropping in, Slow. So yeah, we were making, I'm all over the place here now. So I'm having a glass of port celebrating as my cheddar jalapeno cornbread is about to go into the oven, and just letting the oven warm up, and of course letting the batter sit. It should also sit as everything kind of mixes up and gets going. So I thought, hey, why not? Let's just be live. Let's just chew the fat a little bit here and talk about some stuff. So yes, so I got the sharpening thing, and I got, oh, Slow, if you're still here, before you go, buddy, I got a car thing, so I can actually do a Slow 49 live. In fact, you might see that tomorrow. I got to set up. I got to go to the bank tomorrow morning, so that might be somewhere. Yeah, Bron, I got that actually from a food years ago. There was a celebrity chef food network, and they made this thing. Now, I tried it out a couple times, and then of course did some modifications to it. You make it my own. So it's not like a traditional cornbread, which I love. It actually comes out more like a dense, almost like a cake. You can eat it with a fork, but it's good. Two kinds of three if you count the shredded Parmesan that I put over the top. But I use old sharp cheddar, and I use ricotta to give it that extra kind of creaminess. Diced jalapenos, of course, a little bit of onion. Simple seasonings, doesn't need a lot. But yeah, there was. So it makes me it makes me laugh because we're talking about trout and fishing, and I got to start doing some more fishing. I loved it growing up. Did tons of fishing and enjoyed it. We used to actually. This time of year, we'd be now getting ready for the opening you'll see it, Tony. We're going to throw it in the oven. I figured I'll stay live until you guys want to kick me out, because it should be beeping any minute now. We'll throw it in the oven. It's about 45 minutes to get done. I check it after 40 and just see to make sure that it's browning properly and not burning in about that time. And I'll go down. Of course, we're lucky enough, everyone, to have Devin Morell here to give the intellectual commentary and color commentary to whatever I'm saying. So thank you very much, Devin. We wanted to make sure that nobody made anything. Do I eat milk? Yes, I do, as a matter of fact. Interesting comment. I suppose unless it's cheese, you actually drink milk. But I'm just being a bit of an ass. So, how's everybody out here? What are you guys all up to today? I thank you. I'm sorry I didn't. I was actually gonna I told Baby Love yesterday on her sunrise stream that I might do this yesterday, but then it ended up that I got busy and I've been doing a lot of running around and a lot of stuff. Which is good. It's a good thing. Keeping busy and taking care of stuff. The weather is decent over here. Tomorrow, it's supposed to be sunny and go up to 18 Canadian, which works out to what? I think we're talking there like high 60s, 64, 65, maybe 66. On March break. Yes, that's right. It is March break. Now, I know it's pretty universal around here. Isn't it true in the U.S., though, the March break period varies a lot from state to state? Yeah, Tony, listen, you know what it is? March, of course, is the crazy the crazy month, as like my dad used to say in Italian, and I'll screw it up if I try to say it in Italian, but basically he would say, the saying goes, you see the sun and you bring an umbrella with you. So there's obviously the two competing. Oh yeah, lots of whitefish up there. We caught tons of whitefish in Lake Simcoe, which would be there, and of course ice fishing. Used to do ice fishing. I think now of how could I think that's one sport I don't think Braun would be into, because he has said more than once he absolutely loves the warm weather. So going out in super minus temperatures in the dark, walking on Walking on a frozen lake to get to an ice hut would not. Now, I could be wrong. I could be wrong, Braun, but I don't know, buddy. The only thing that's kind of funny is the ice hut that we had, and too bad there's no like pictures of whatever. But talk about class, okay? When we built this sucker, because my brother's taller than I am, my dad was my height, and we're not going to make a small little ice hut. So we built this thing 8 feet by 8 feet. It was 7 feet high. We could stand up inside there, all 2x4s. In fact, we built it too strong because it was heavy like hell. Inside, there was all inch and a half, I forget as much, but styrofoam insulations. So it was all insulated, wood paneling all around. The seats were all padded, foam padded and covered in like a leatherette sort of a crappy thing. We had a bookshelf that were perfect, fit right by the door where we could put all our stuff. It was heated with a propane heating thing. They used to call it like a sunflower. So I don't know, they probably still make this thing. So of course the tank was outside, running the feet, turn this thing on. Within 25 minutes, it was so warm in there you could be in your like t-shirt and shorts, because it was that insulated. And of course, there was adult beverages. We had a camp stove. We used to cook and do whatever. So there was that fun part when, of course, we weren't catching fish. And then we even got lazy where we'd sit there and watch the fish finder and had it set for certain depths and shoot the shit and have a drink. And then when any fish came through on that depth, of course, the alarm would go. And then we'd instantly say, oh, okay, what's the depth? And then start jigging for like herring or different things that we were catching. So kind of unfortunate, no, I won't say unfortunately. Fortunately, we managed to get in and out with no major incidents because there were some times when we were, shall we say, had maybe one too many beverages. But that's the old days when but we always made it there and made it back safely. The wonderful world of ice fishing. Are you sure you're from Canada? You sound like you're from Mississippi. Now, are you tempting me to try and do a lettuce accent? Because I'm not going to do that. But no, I'm not. In fact, I'm embarrassed to say I've not done much traveling. I've lived my whole life probably within 200 miles of where I've been born, so it's not a lot, and did that sort of thing. So, baby love, good morning to you, because I know it's morning. We're just waiting for the oven to turn on, and do I say A? Of course. I mean, that's a Canadian thing, not overly, but Paul, I will try to say A now and again, just to, especially if there's internationals watching here. So, oh yeah, no, it's not embarrassing. I mean, I didn't really mean that very seriously. But like it's funny because it's very much a thing. And my daughter-in-law, who works for a U.S. company whose head office is in Georgia, and she makes frequent trips, and there she's a national sales manager here in Canada. Anyway, she was saying it's a very common thing for Americans to have lived in all different parts of the, mostly, I guess, in the lower 48. But yeah, it's rather a common thing, which is this is a test for Halibut favorite Tim Horton donut. That's easy, Braun. The Dutchie, which they brought it back like a nostalgia thing because that used to be my favorite donut. No, Devin. No, man. No. I've already figured you that you and I. That's why we can tease each other. Whatever. I have a thick skin. It's getting old and wrinkled, but it's fairly thick. And my motto, personal sort of mentality, has always been: if there's no malice intended, you can get away with a lot of good digging and stuff. And even with close friends or relatives, every once in a while, I'll stick my foot in my mouth and I'll realize, shit, I shouldn't have said that or then. And then a quick apology and I'm sorry. And the recipient knows there was no malice intended and everything works out fine. Braun, we're almost neighbors, buddy. I could come down. My daughter-in-law has all kinds of relatives in Windsor. She grew up. She's a Tigers fan, and she grew up very much going back and forth across the border and whatever there. So yeah, I know all about being there. I have to. I'll have to. I'll have to ambush Braun one day and come and visit. A crazy halibut. Well, you know what I look like, so I can't sneak up with you. And I'm like, 6'3", so cronuts, honey cruller. Oh, they're good. Yeah, honey crullers are good. Yeah, it's so funny because historically, and again, going back to when Tim Hortons first started, and it was a coffee shop and donuts basically. Now it's everything from lunch and supper and God knows what their menus are, and everything is expanded. But it was all about, you went there, you had coffee and got one or two donuts or something like that, and carried on. They're doing the what do you call it, the roll up the rim thing now. I just reminded myself, I do have a free coffee that I've got to go cash in before. You know what, Devin? That's perfect. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to take a drive down, maybe when the weather gets better. I'm going to take a drive down to Windsor, and I'm going to show Detroit from the Canadian side. And then maybe we do a dual stream with Braun, and we have like two shots from across the lake. What do you think, Braun? A lot of fish in the Detroit River, tons of fish. And in fact, just up from there, Lake St. Clair, I am going to do that. Lake St. Clair is a honey spot of fishing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Kind of like a dueling banjo, and he's showing the one side of the thing, and I'm showing the other. That would be something half silly. Well, you never know. Anything possible. Anything possible. Because now then I did finally get good tires. I got brand new tires on the vehicle, so don't have to worry about doing that sort of stuff. Yes, it is. It truly is. It's a lovely skyline and whatever. And there's some really, really cool tours and stuff in Windsor, which that is not a bad. Is there a Sasquatch? No, there is no Sasquatch on here, except if you're unlucky enough to see me prancing around in the buff late at night. That's like the only thing there. But what I was going to say is there's some neat tours of some of the distilleries that are there in Windsor, which of course they all made their fortune during Prohibition, running booze across the border. Which I think, now I'm going to screw this up, but the fun fact was something like, it's a super high number. It's something like 70% or 75% of the booze that went into the U.S. from Canada went right there, right from Windsor to Detroit. That was the main, despite of all the other places and things. So yeah, it's kind of a pretty cool. Do I have to go to Canadian? Actually, no, Paul, because there is. The original. You've all probably seen the Patterson Gimli, the famous Sasquatch film, which is a hoax, but a lot of people believe in that. That was filmed in Northern California. So, yeah. Yeah, Baby Love has met me in person, so that maybe the warning is appropriate, Devin. You never know. Now, did I hear a beep? Okay, give me 1/2 a second. I am just going to double check that the oven is not or is ready to roll. Just be back right in a sec. Yes, you see my big mouth, and we do. So let's go tour on over, and let's go put the jalapeno cornbread in there. The oven is ready to go. It's at 375. We'll switch this. Here's what it looks like. It's all set. It's sitting in the dish. Open up the oven. Pop it in. And I will set this oven timer for 40 minutes. And we'll check it after that. Okay, back to the parlor. Very true. Killing nothing but time. That's very true. The whole legend of Sasquatch is very much in the native culture, very much, and all across. You see it all across on different things. It's something with Aboriginal people. They have, let's face it, the roots of formalized religions all started with a spiritualism to nature. And I mean, what did our ancestors marvel about? They marveled about the wild world. They marveled at lightning in the sky, and they marveled at mighty powerful animals that sometimes they hunted, sometimes were being hunted by it. And I'm going back hundreds of thousands of years, and that spirituality, of course, became more formalized and became more set and different rules and whatever. We should all do a live stream maybe one day on my thoughts of spirituality, but it's very, very much ancient and very much a part of our thing. So now we got about 40 minutes to kill before the reveal. And should I put some music on? Now, one thing I do not want to do is I do not want to copyright this stream, because I want to leave it up in case somebody actually wants to make this recipe. But what I will do, I've decided that I am going to do a live. I don't think in the next little while, unfortunately, because next week I got a week that I'm house sitting for my son. So I'll do a live down there and maybe take Maya for a walk or whatever. And then I got a week, and then I'm down in Vegas. So maybe when I come back from Vegas, one thing I was going to, you know what? I could fool you, but I'm going to do a totally copyright stream, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to play music, not requests. I'm going to play music that I listen to, that's on my playlists. And I'll tell you something, it will give you a good, in case anybody cares, it'll give you a wonderful insight into what's inside of me, because music has always been a part of my life, as it is with most people. But I tend not to listen to a lot of pop music. Now, there's pop songs I like or whatever, but the music I tend to listen to tends to be a little bit more maybe off the beaten path. But let's put something for background. I know this is safe. I know Baby Love loves the jazz I put in the background. And it's funny because YouTube will say there's a copyright, but they'll also say it's not a strike. It's not going to affect the the channel at all. And basically that we have permission to use it, which I don't know how that works, but that's very kind of them. Yeah, it's hard to understand sometimes what the rules are. Ooh, cannibalistic one. Wendigo. Yeah, that's right. I've heard of the Wendigo. Mythology's my favorite. Yeah, me too, Baby Love. I've always any kind of mythology, but I kind of always have gotten a kick out of the Greek mythology, the gods of Olympus and all of their stuff. Because actually, when it comes to think about it, now here's going to be, you guys are going to laugh, but come to think about this, that the Olympian gods, if you know anything about the Greek mythology, because of course we all
have been told that, God, if you believe in one God, created mankind in God's image, and we're supposed to be that. Well, the Olympian gods were more human, or as human as we were. Okay, they were all they lied, they cheated, they were adulterers. I mean, Zeus was the biggest adulterer around. I mean, he was running around with all the hot mortal women, and that's where all the Greek heroes came from. And there was jealousies and this and conceits and whatever. So in that respect, I always thought that was a funny kind of trait about the Olympian gods and that whole mythology there, that they were more human than divine, if we could put it that way. Yeah, you know what's kind of cool about any kind of jazz? I mean, this is stuff because it's just very comforting and relaxing. And don't get me wrong, I can throw on stuff that, gets the blood pumping and get moving and that sort of stuff. Was Paul like grieving on different calls? Yeah, 100%, Paul. And it's funny because you will notice as you do look into the different myths of different cultures, and some going back literally thousands of years, there's interesting similarities and interesting things that kind of wind their way through the folklore and through the spirituality, which is what I was saying before. There's almost like there's a root base of spirituality that all humanity had from when we were all still in Africa, and that's kind of wormed its way through as we've evolved and socialized. Oh, 100%, nothing but time. Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. And I mean, a fun fact that I always like to play with. Well, there's several, but one particular that I like to play with is reminding myself that, ancient people were no more advanced than we were. Baby born 5,000 years ago, if you could transplant that baby and raise that child in today's culture, they would be a modern person, and vice versa. We have not evolved as an animal. Oh, yes, we've learned a lot. We've piled our knowledge on top of each other because that's what we do, and we've, of course, mastered all kinds of the Kadesh, the symbol of medicine, is actually the staff of Hermes. Yes, it is. You are correct, sir. The Greek messenger god. Kevin, how you doing, buddy? Oh, thanks, Kevin. That's very kind of you. You missed the initial cooking part. The jalapeno cheddar cornbread is in the oven. It should be ready for the reveal right now, maybe in about 30 minutes or so. But that's very kind. Kevin's a good guy. And as you can see by his comments, he's a very good liar. So I'm just kidding. I thank you, Kev. Oh, Baby Love's giving us a Greek mythology lesson. Yeah. So, okay, Baby Love, so I'm going to quiz you. Well, of course, my favorite Greek hero is Heracles, or Hercules, the Romanized version. Do you know what his name means? Anybody know? For 2 points. What is the meaning of the Greek hero Heracles? Or Heracles? That's probably the Greeks would pronounce it. My Greek is rusty. Well, Kev, you'll be happy to know that I've had such a bad streak of my Halley bets. I'm going to take a pause for a while. Last night, I think I was like 2 of 4. Taj Mahal. Okay, since nobody knows the answer, I will tell you. As Baby Love was mentioning the goddess Hera, who was Zeus's wife. And of course, incredibly pissed off at Zeus because he was having affairs all around. So when he had the affair that produced Hercules, he named the child Heracles, which is in honor of Hera. But she was still pissed off. And she tormented the poor guy through his whole life until he eventually overcame, of course, all of his labors and all of his trials. It's a great story of redemption. You know, I mean, the poor guy was really tormented. Hera did not like him. But eventually, of course, the one mortal that did end up being admitted as a demigod into Olympus, and she accepted him at that point. Figured, I can't beat him, you got to join him. Oh, is that this week, Kev? Oh, I love TCP. TPC. It's TCP or TPC? I think it's TCP, no? Sawgrass. Anyway, I love that. Crunch. Are you seriously for real? Awesome. Yeah, there you go. Having the glory of Hera. There you go. It's all Greek to me. One day, if I have enough cocktails in me, I'll sing a Greek song that I used to know as a kid, and I still remember most of the words to it. But not now. No, far too sober for that. Yeah, that would start today, wouldn't it? Uh-huh. How do you like them potatoes? Yes, I did know that. I did know that. It certainly is inspirational. There's no question about that. I mean, it's one of those amazing structures that you look at it and you marvel at. And that's another thing. I mean, that's another thing. Look how many, and we won't even start with the pyramids because they're super old, but how many ancient structures and buildings that are just absolutely magnificent. And do you still get fish flies there? Hey, Missy, I don't know the question. What do you mean fish flies? Like the flies you tie on to catch fish? Or the flies that fly around when you've got a fish sitting out, which should be in the cooler? You don't want it to go bad. Group on now, Scotty, Rory, Xander. Oh, that's a good group. Yeah, no kidding, eh? Well, I mean, let's face it, we have to get into... everything has to be simplified, right? So to be able to know the big swarm. Hey, I'll tell you about big swarms. We used to have a really cool lake that you had to kind of hike into it, and it was full of beautiful largemouth bass. Go there and catch them on surface lures, and it was a lot of fun. Anyway, the walk in, which I don't know now to try, took us about 20, 25 minutes. Maybe it was, goodness, I don't know, maybe a couple kilometers, kilometer and a half, and up and down in hills. But the bugs were insane, particularly deer flies. So if you know what a deer fly is, they're nasty buggers that bite like hell. They look like a delta wing fighter. And so we would wear the masks, right? The full head mask and everything, gloves on and whatever. And they would swarm. And you didn't notice with the mask, but if you looked at, like the people you were going in with, there would be this literal cloud of bugs all around. It was really, really, yeah, same with the deer fly. Yeah. Deer flies, horse flies. Yeah, exactly. Well, because they chomp on you. Very much like black flies, but black flies, as painful as the bite is, they're a relatively small bug, and their mouth is relatively small, so they do take a little chunk out of you. But the goddamn deer flies, they got a bigger mouth, so when they take a chunk out of you, it's like, yeah. Oh yeah, they'll draw blood for sure. Anyway, don't want to think about that. That's not a happy thought. And fortunately, none of those. Yeah, it was kind of like, getting the first mosquito bites for the season. It's funny, the first few you would get, there's the big lumps and scratch like hell. Hey, after a few weeks, I guess your body adjusted to the thing, and they sometimes even Didn't even notice it. They have a decent immune system. Yeah, the problem is, Devin, is they're on the way back now. Texas has kicked them all out. They're all back, migrating back north now. That, you know what, this whole nonsense and tariffs and back and forth, and the simple truth of the matter is it's hurting people on both sides of the borders. It's really nuts, and I find it personally, I find it very nuts, because we are two countries that have been intertwined for literally hundreds of years. And rather than this nonsense and that, we should have our economies well intertwined and be a strong combination. And that should have been done 30, 40 years ago. It's nuts, you know. Oh, is that right? Has Trump pissed off Australia now? Where's Tony? Tony still here? Cobra chickens, may I steal that? I guess? AKA Cobra chickens. I never even heard that. Where'd you get Cobra chickens from? Yeah, I kind of like that too, Missy, but I need some context here. Where'd that name come from? I've never heard that, Cobra chickens. I do know that geese make better watchdogs than dogs. They will raise the whole thing, and don't go bother a goose with the baby gooses. There she is. Oh, really? Yeah, you know what? He's just doing all this bravado and all of this stuff, and it's getting silly. I'll put on a tariff, I'll take it off, we'll put it back on. No, we'll retaliate this. It's, kind of reminds me of like a bunch of kindergarten kids fighting over the toys. Geese, aka Cobra chickens. Hiss. But both are tasty, particularly wild turkeys. Yummy, yummy, yummy. The only thing, of course, if anybody who has ever had wild turkey will know that the bird is not like your Thanksgiving, butterball turkey with a huge breast of white meat. That's a lot smaller. So that's the one thing. They got powerfully well-developed legs, mind you, and they are tasty. Almost the U.S. national bird. I guess you guys know that, eh? Ben Franklin was pushing the turkey to be the national bird. I think he made the right choice with the eagle, mind you, but that's a true fact. No, none of us have, Paul. No, none of us have heard Cobra chicken. Okay, so I'm just muting the music because it's a Spotify ad, and I will not pay for their premium stuff just for the matter of pushing the mute button for a second. If a goose enters your house, you're allowed to put it in a cooking pot and have a nice little feast. Duck is tasty. Duck is tasty. Now, if we're talking about that, how about partridge and grouse and pheasant and all those cool things that we used to hunt, and quail, and oh man, that's delicious. I can remember sometimes, because the Canadian Thanksgiving is, of course, mid-October time frame, and that's right into hunting season. So there was a couple times well, more than a couple, but there was a few times where Thanksgiving dinner would be a feast of wild game that we had harvested. So we're talking pheasant and rabbit and partridge and quail sometimes, or duck, or whatever was happened to go on there, and that was nice. That was nice. Oh man. I remember hunting wild bobwhite quail in this, basically around this area here, southwestern Ontario. Now they're protected. You can't hunt them. There's no season or whatever. But it was a perfectly legal season, and we had the really good dogs, the pointing dogs. That was always the dogs we had, and just pointing, beautiful, delicious. Is that right, Devin? Pheasant is your state bird. My goodness. So is there a lot of wild pheasant? I mean, I can pack the shotgun and come down for a pheasant shoot. I wonder how the laws are for that. Because my uncle used to always, almost every year, go down with a bunch of buddies to go and hunt down in Texas. And they brought their guns with them. So I guess if you need a special permit or something to transport firearms. Now, those laws may have changed now. I honestly don't know, because I'm going back now, over 40 years ago. But I know they used to do that. They pack up the dogs, do everything, and then take the road trip, drive down to Texas, and spend a couple of weeks hunting down there. So I wonder again. Otherwise, then I'd have to go and rent a shotgun there. And of course, Devin can cook the damn thing, so sounds like a feast. Until Devin's wife says, "Who the hell's this son of a bitch here that's been squatting at our place for 3 weeks?" "Oh, that's Halibut. He's okay. Get him out of here." Oh, it rained. Saw your posts in the great photos. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I guess you would. Well, sure, because if it's a wild bird or whatever. And you know what? Yes, there has been incidents of humans hunting animals to extinction. Yes, it has happened. But by and large, hunters are not responsible in a well-managed system for animals suddenly disappearing. More get lost through loss of habitat, poisoning the environment, that sort of thing. Because a well-managed fishery, or like for wildlife, for hunting, they know. And they do an excellent job. They know what can be harvested every year, and the populations are happy and they're stable. And a lot of these animals, I know up here, because of course we have nasty winters, and that a lot of them would die during the winter anyway. So might as well be harvested by humans and that. And they do a good job for that. So yeah, well, the carrier pigeon is one. Yes, no, exactly. That's one example, which just still blows my mind, because there were literally billions of the damn things. I mean, there's anecdotal stories. I guess there's no video from back then, but these things blocking out the sun, huge schools, and they were literally hunted till they killed them all. But that's an excuse. That a lot of that was okay. Cheap food supply. They were doing this. They were eating the crops and that, and farmers, so they were just like wiping them out, and no concern. They got pretty efficient. You have that with a development of firearms to the point that you have a good thick swarm of birds, and you blast a shotgun into the middle of them, you can get 4 or 5 of them without even aiming. So you got a whole bunch of people plugging away with their shotguns. You can do a lot of damage really, really quickly, which is not the whole idea of proper. Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, 3 is the limit that we had here too. Even like going back, hunted, going back 45, 50 years ago. and different areas was only the cocks, and some you could take. There was a mix, but that was generally the limit. 3 a day. Well, yeah, well, sometimes the over hunting and fishing, sometimes that's for commercial reasons too. And that's a shame. Because like anything else you have there, it's exactly. Exactly. We do need some kind of rules and some kind of a way to now let me see what I'm going to do over here. I'm going to have to do this. Oh, that's better. So I can sit back. I have to remember that when I do these streams, this is a rocking recliner. And I was watching one whole live stream. And I'm doing this back and forth like I wasn't thinking about it. So, yeah, we'll sit back. I'm not going to move around. I'll move this up to myself here. And thank you, everyone, for hanging in here while the jalapeno cornbread is cooking. The muddies. Okay, all right, Tony. What's a muddy? I know it's something that Nona would turn into a nice lunch, but I need a translation, man. What's a muddy? Thank you for dropping in. Kill nothing but time. I really, really appreciate that. And yes, go have something to eat. Maybe check back later if you've grabbed the snack if I'm still on here. But thank you so much for coming. Ah, mud crab. Ah, uh-huh. Okay. Now, is that actually what the species is called? Because, I mean, no offense, my friend, but Australia does have the weirdest animals on the whole planet, right? You guys have stuff that just doesn't, and that's a fact, and that just doesn't exist anywhere in the planet. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, and thank you for the subscription. Yes, it's I'm a very much a what you see is what you get kind of a person, and if you check out some of the videos that I've posted, you'll see that that's true. But yes, thank you again for coming in, and thank you for subscribing. Always welcome. But anyway, back to my question to Tony. So this mud crab, is it known by any other like name or something? Like if I look it up, it is called because you could get them in big. Oh no shit! Ah, really? Eh? Huh. Now, okay. So back to my question: is it something known by other names in different parts of the world, or is it exclusive to Australia and has to be imported? Now this is fascinating stuff. Always like to learn something. Mud crab. Are they big, Tony? Like, I mean, are we like, let's say, okay, like a big crab, like a Dungeness crab, which are huge. And then you got like the blue crabs in that are relatively small. Oh wow, okay. Imported out. No kidding. Well, okay, here's one. I noticed this about 6-7 months ago for the first time, maybe before, but a lot of the local grocery stores here are featuring Australian beef. Now,
I haven't bought it yet. I'm sure there's great beef. I kind of shake my head to the point that it's got to be cheaper to import, to transport beef from Alberta to Ontario than from Australia to Ontario, but they have that. And question for you, Tony, since they do have that, because they say on the advertising it's ungraded. So I obviously in Australia they must have a grading system for their beef. So what is their grading system? Because I know up here a lot of the ungraded beef came from Mexico, and because a butcher told me that, the grocer says, "What do you mean ungraded?" Okay, I want something. I want to know what it was, and he was explaining that to me. So I wonder if that's the same because it comes from Australia or not. Very interesting. Under the shells with seagrasses all along the okay, so baby love. So now you're going to have to battle with Tony. Tony says those are his crabs. Oh, God, that didn't come out right. Okay, all right. Bad halibut. Bad halibut. Okay. Tony said the mud crabs are native to Australia, not native to Tony. So you have to clarify that. We're just messing with you, Tony. Just having a little bit of fun. Okay, we have to do some stuff like that. Crab is delicious. I mean, super expensive, and talk about like a real treat, but I mean, king crab legs, oh man. Oh, they're so good. I really tasty ones, Paul. But only when Nona cooks them. Yeah, Devin, I thought the same thing. Okay, what's interesting, what the butcher did tell me, though, with the Mexican beef, is it tends to be a lot leaner than the beef we have here in Canada or whatever. So, like, I'm envisioning, Old West kind of cattle drives. Like, they had to walk these poor animals, like, 2,000 miles to get them to the slaughter pen. So sure, they're all lean. They got not a stitch of fat on them. So I don't know about that. Oh, she cheated. She Googled it. That's all right. We all do that. Yeah. It's funny. As far as fish, I will eat fish. I will cook it. I'm not overthink, but shellfish? Ooh, yeah, that's a different story. In fact, damn, you know what? You know what I should do? I think I'm going to do that. I think I will do a cooking live of some nice mussels. What do you guys think about that? We'll do some nice mussels and sit there and have a nice dish of mussels, some white wine, and some very good crusty bread. Ooh. We all use Google. Actually, I saw the other day, I was in Costco, and get this. So I got a big, hey, Irving, how you doing, buddy? And good cooking. I can cook from the couch if I order food. There you go. Okay, Devin. You know what mussels are? Those little shell things. They're black and they're long and they're really tasty and super easy to cook, mind you, and not overly expensive. They haven't gone like stupid. Exactly. Or a good crusty bread and stuff. And in fact, there was a mussel dish so many years ago that Portuguese friend of mine introduced me to the Portuguese, what they call the fish wine, which just a little thing. I mean, I'm sure you can buy it anywhere, but the Portuguese make a wine that they call vinho verde, which translates to basically green wine. So they make this wine
of slightly immature grapes. They're not as like rich and not as ripe. So the product that comes out is a lower in alcohol, very acidic wine, very light, very acidic, which of course goes absolutely great with seafood. As you know, put lemon and stuff on seafood. So that little bit of acidity or sourness, it's not really sour. That's not, you should never say a wine is sour, but the high degree of acidity goes so well with seafood, especially the Portuguese eat a lot of seafood, and a lot of it are things like sardines and fish that are oilier. And this cuts right through it. So they'll call that the fish one. And the best part of all is it's relatively inexpensive. You're not paying an arm and a leg for this stuff. So any of you there like seafood, your local wine shop, ask them for Vinho Verde, Portuguese Vinho Verde. Try it, whatever seafood that you're having. And like I said, icy cold and drink. Alcohol is low. It usually comes in at 10.5, 11% alcohol. Not a high alcohol thing, but really, really goes good with that. And seafood boil. And that's what we had that day, because where I was working at the music shop that we had there, we had a back room with a whole kitchen and everything. So that was lunch. And we cooked up this huge batch of mussels. Really good. The Portuguese make a really nice, dense bread that if I don't have one here in where I live, but a good Portuguese bakery, it's got a nice thick crumb to it and a good crust. So we had that and this Vinho Verde, and that's what we were sitting there and eating, and it was lunch. Oh, those were the good old days. Yes, a Dr. Pepper wine. How you feeling there, Irving? How's the arm, buddy? Is it getting better, or is it still hurt like hell? Well, it probably still hurts like hell. Because if I remember correctly, you were saying they were going to kick you back to work sooner than later, which I thought was rather hostile of whoever made that call. A keg. Well, Kev, if we have a keg of Dr. Pepper, I think there should be some appropriate additives to that, right? Yeah, me neither, Paul. I think the closest I came to any kind of a soda was I made myself a gin and tonic the other night. Yeah, well, sure. They probably got a good stretching to them. Oh, baby love, I just read that now. Irving is we cannot see the facial expressions and hand gestures that Irving is making to the last baby love comment, but I guarantee you they are probably classic. No, I know, Irving. Yeah, exactly, Tony. Well, she knows what Irving's kryptonite is. So it's like, like some people that are, have arachnophobia and are terrified of spiders or whatever. I mean, that would be Irving hell, in a room with like green beans dancing around him or whatever. Forget it. It just take me out, put me in a box, and throw me in the ground. I'm done. Yeah. Crazy old fool. A green beans bandit. Yeah, exactly, Kev. Oh, at the least shaking a fist. And like I said, the facial expressions have got to be classic. I can, so maybe the imagination had to substitute with steak. It's not the same. Yes. Everyone, if you don't know, Irving believes in eating processed vegetation, once they become processed into meat. Beef particularly, right, buddy? Oh, is that true, Paul? Really, eh? Because I had a close friend in high school who had arachnophobia for real. And I mean, we used to we used to tease them that, if we ever wanted to get rid of them, just throw them in a room and lock the door and toss in a bag full of spiders, and that's it. He'd be done. It was serious. He really, really was freaked out about them. So to the point that we did not tease him about it, or throw spiders on him or whatever. We didn't. We knew enough to know this was just more than a mild dislike. He had the true arachnophobia. So yeah, if you got that, man, take care. Don't look at this message. Okay, did I miss a nasty comment here? Did you? I mean, don't delete the message till I can at least have a laugh at it, especially if someone's taking a shot at me. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go have a peek of how the time is doing. And besides, it gives me an excuse to get my ass up and walk around a bit. And, hey, the nerves aren't bad. Remember, this is not a gimbal. It's pretty stable. Oh, whoever made that smell comment, it's smelling good. Oh, my goodness. The timer has gone. Did you get that? Again, my big mouth. I'm going to give it another 5 minutes because I'm looking and it just needs another 5 minutes. That's it, guys. 5 minutes and we have the reveal. Wow, the internal clock must be working good. I'm not listening to the beeping, which only goes to show when you're yakking so much, you don't even hear these things. What did I miss here? Oh, we'd fix you, Irving. You'd be 450 pounds before you know it. Hey, Devin? But then we could be, or either that, Devin, or it would be like ping pong. He'd be at one of our places that we'd have enough of them and then kick him over to your place, and then you'd kick him back to my place, and he'd be Irving walking from house to house with this big smile on his face. Hey, the time flew. I don't believe it was that 40 minutes. I went there. It was the funniest thing. Went to look at the stove, and the triple zeros were flashing, which meant that the timer went, and I didn't hear it beep because it usually will keep beeping. I don't know. Ears working? They should be. Doctor gave the boy a good bill of health. Blood pressure is good. Blood work is good. Holy crap. I'm going back in age. Yep. My doctor even, get this, she even cut one of my medications in half. Okay, yeah, we're gonna cut it in half and doing this. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. That was a good doctor's appointment on Monday. Okay, guys, we're done here. Let me take this phone because I'm gonna have to put it into the Halibut gizmo. Yeah, baby love. It was like the BP was like 130 something over 78 or something ridiculous like that. Like I was actually almost healthy. All the blood work good. So, nah, you know what? I mean, I follow the doctor's orders.
a lot of modern medicine these days, it's all preventative stuff. I do try and exercise as much as I can. That's very important at my age. Motion is very, very, very important. To try and do even a little bit. It's okay. So let's put you guys in the holder here. Flip this around. Oops, how did I do that? I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to zoomy. Uh-oh. Okay, stop that, Halibut. You dumb twit. How do I unzoom this thing? Okay, that's me. Okay, so that's normal thing. Don't push anything. Here we go. Okay. Now, let's get shut off the oven. Make sure I got the oven mitts on so I don't do anything heroic here and burn myself because I'm forgetting. All right. It looks done. The size, a bit of browning on the top. We will do the toothpick test. As of course the bakers know, you take a toothpick, you put it in. If it comes out dry and that, it is done. It is done. We're going to let it sit for a bit, and that is the finished result. I'm going to get myself a plate. It's hot as hell. I'm doing this for you guys because I normally let it sit a little bit before I cut into it, as you should do. But you've been also patient to sit here all this time. All right. Come on. All right. Oops. I need a fork. Okay. Forkful. Yeah, like I said, because I usually eat. When it's colder, I can eat it like a regular cornbread, but it's not like that. It's very moist, almost like a cake, especially because of the ricotta. But that gives it a richness that I love. Not a hard recipe. You can go back and see how it's done, and really, really tasty. So now, as I said, I'm going to take a good chunk of this, freeze it, and bring it down from when I go and house sit for my son. But of course, because it's got jalapenos and onion, I can't give any to Maya. Although I know she'll be staring at me.
And as I was saying, when I did it, I mean, you could pre-cook the vegetables, like the jalapenos and the onion. I don't. And there's texture to them. They're cooked, but there's still a firmness to it, which I like.
You can chill in electric mode, turn it up in gas mode, or get the best of both in hybrid mode. Choose how you move in the all-in-one Escape. And right now, get 0% APR purchase financing for up to 60 months on the 2025 Escape plug-in hybrid.
Well,
For details,
there you have it.
Ontario Ford Store.
Cheddar jalapeno. Excuse me. Talk too much. Cheddar jalapeno cornbread a la halibut. And decided to make it into a live. So tomorrow, I think I was showing you guys this thing. I got myself, got to figure out how this is. One of these holders I can stick up on the top of my car and do like a slow 49 when he does from his car. And maybe I'm going to do a little live stream tomorrow on my way down to the bank. Because they called me today and said that my Vegas money is ready to be picked up. So I may just do that because I'm dying to have one of these little puppies. So hopefully I don't screw it up. Sticks on and adjusts and whatever. So I'll play with that. That was my one toy I got today. And my other one was my knife sharpener, which worked really, really, really well. Hey, Lady Rockin' Pop, welcome. Welcome. I am just sampling the cheddar jalapeno cornbread that I made. Turned out really, really good. So thank you for dropping in. Yeah, it came out really, really good. Simple recipe to follow. And it was one of those things that if I can cook something that can be done within a reasonable amount of a live stream, I did it that way. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then people just love to watch. I'm about to end this thing now. I want to thank you. Is this the part in the stream when I say please like and subscribe? Look, you're all wonderful. Thank you so much for coming in. I did want to do this. I don't usually bake. I'm not a baker, although I have messed around in my life. I went through my bread making phase and I made this really awesome multi-grain bread. I make 2 loaves and out they'd come, right? You know, the nice standard big square loaves. Half a loaf was gone while it was hot. It was just, oh yeah. Then afterwards, slice, toast, butter. Not healthy. I was like probably having 25 times the carbs I should have had. And different things, whether it be pizza dough or bread or stuff. Now, my oldest daughter, Michelle, has become a very accomplished baker. And I have nothing but respect for people who know how to bake. She's to the point where she can experiment and do different things. So, again, thank you everyone so much for tuning in. It was a lot of fun as always. God bless you all, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks again. Bye for now.